In this tutorial, we're going to introduce Tsql by executing some basic query statements against an existing database table. I already have Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio up and running, and I already have a TestDB database and a users table. So we're going to execute some basic queries against the users table. To do that, highlight or click on TestDB and come up here and select the New Query button. And this is going to give us a new window to write and execute our SQL statements. As you can see from this drop-down, we're currently using the TestDB. So any queries that we execute right now in this window is going to be executed against this database. And if you're not sure, if you want to make sure that you're using the correct database, you can always use test db go, and that will ensure that any statements executed after the statement will be against the whatever database that you specify. But for now, we don't need that because we are going to execute all queries against the TestDB. So first off, let's see what data we have in the users table. So to do that, we're going to write select star, and the star means we're going to select, we want all columns from the users table. So it's going to return the ID column, first name, and last name column. And then write from, and then we specify the table that we want it. And the good thing about SQL Server 2012 is that it actually gives you IntelliSense, and so we actually see the available tables to us. And it's always good practice to have a semicolon here. It's not required, but it's good practice. And then to execute that statement, we'll just go and find this execute button and click on that. As you can see, we already have two rows in this table, John Doe and Jane Doe. So let's enter one more user. To do that, we're going to use the insert command, and then into, and then our table, and then we're going to say values, and then we're going to specify the values that we want to enter in the table. Now, this ID column is an identity key, so we don't have to specify the value for that. SQL Server is going to generate an ID for us. And we're going to want to enter, and since they're ncar, we're going to want to enter a string value. And to enter string value in SQL, it's not double quotes, it's actually a single quote. So we're going to do Tom, and then to enter the second column, we just hit comma, and then input the second string. So this says I want to insert into the users table Tom being the first name because it comes first after the identity key, and then Smith, which is the last name. Close the parentheses and a semicolon. We'll highlight the statement that we want because you can execute the queries two ways. Now, if I were to just hit the execute button, what would actually happen is this statement would be executed and this statement would be executed. So we don't want that. We just want to insert into the users table. So we're going to highlight the insert statement and then click the execute button. And as you can see here, one row affected. That means our insert statement was successful in inserting the new user. So let's highlight the select all from and execute that to see what changes happened. As you can see, a new user was added. Now the ID is 8 because I've already added a couple of users and deleted them. And what SQL Server does is it doesn't reuse the identity keys even though they've been deleted. So that's why you see the 8 there. Now let's say we want to delete Tom Smith. To do that, we'll do delete from users where, and here you can specify either the identity key or the first name. Just be aware that if there are multiple Toms, then it would delete all rows that have Tom. So we can just do that for now, where first name, and as you can see, you have IntelliSense here. That's the column that we want. Equals Tom. Again, we only want to execute this statement, so we'll highlight it and click execute. As you can see, one row affected. Let's go back and select all from the table to see what happened. The row is gone now. One thing to note is in SQL Server 2012, if I were to write something syntactically incorrect, it'll actually highlight it for me. Also, you can also press the parse button, and it too will tell me any incorrect statements that I have. And I can double click on the error here, and it'll actually highlight the line where the error is. Come back here and fix it. Also, there are two ways where you can execute statements. You can highlight it and then hit the execute button, or as you can see here, it says execute and then parentheses says F5. So you can press F5 and it'll also execute the statement. And those are some basic queries that you can write against a SQL Server table.